Good Sunday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gilloway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our high school football week 4 recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Rickaba's Electric, Payer Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Hoffman Ford, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, The Tire Mart, Lingelstown American Legion, Post 272, Modern Imprint, Team PA AAU Basketball, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Sam Hartley Decking, and Tonino's Pizza. Thank you to those great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. Upcoming on Gazette Sports Chat tomorrow night, actually, this Monday, tomorrow, Caden Williams, Katie Reynolds, and Erica Murphy. They are the 3 captains on the Central Dolphin girls soccer team. These girls are phenomenal. 2 years ago, they won a state championship. Last year, they fell a little short in their defending the state championship, but did win a district championship last year. And they're undefeated to this point in the season, and they're poised to make another deep run. So, again, we'll have Caden Williams, Katie Reynolds, and Erica Murphy. And Coach Jim Deibler and Mickey Minnick, we're going to have next Tuesday, not this coming, but the following on the 24th. It doesn't get any better than this in terms of iconic head football coaches, high school football coaches in the Harrisburg area. These guys both won state championships. They both coached at John Harris under George Chomp, and they're as nice a men as they were successful coaching. So that'll be a real pleasure, a real treat, and a real honor to interview those guys. And then I keep saying it, and I keep working on it. We're trying to get Coach Cal Everett to send a few of his guys, his 3-1 Harrisburg Cougars in for one of the shows here. So anyway, today we do have Travis Waters with us. We have Big Shot Ben Dupree with us, and we have the voice of Delco, Dave Burman. Terry Clark sitting this one out, Terry Clark Jr. We will miss him. He's really good at what he does, and he contributes to this show phenomenally. And we may be joined by Eric Thomas, who's he's on the road like Ben was last week. So if he's able to get on while he's driving back home from wherever he was, we'll have him join us. So let's jump right into it. What we've been doing, guys. Anyway, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Feeling good.
Good.
I'm stuffed. My wife made me. What did you make me, honey?
You don't even know.
Peppers.
Stuffed peppers.
6 of them. So I tell you what, it was a great meal. A lot of protein. But anyway, yeah, I'm stuffed. But what a weekend for high school football again.
Yeah, we promised to lead with Susquehanna Township at West Perry, and we kind of figured it would. Terry said it best. We talked about it after the game. We figured it would be just about the same outcome, only with Susquehanna Township winning. Nobody anticipated like a real blowout because West Perry's is a strong program, and they're well coached. But we thought that it would be a Susquehanna Township win, and West Perry 31, Susquehanna Township 14. So it's on the cusp of being a blowout. I tend to think that you win by 3 scores, which that was 3 scores, and it's a pretty handy win. But I didn't get to see this game. I know you did, Ben. Travis, did you see this game at all?
I did not see. I was following it, but I didn't watch the game. But it was a shocking outcome.
Yeah, they got there's a culture built up there, and I'm not saying that there isn't one at Susquehanna Township, but West Perry's going to show up. Ben, you watched the game. I know you watched the game. Give us your take. Give us your take on this game.
Well, in the first quarter itself, at the end of the first quarter, it was 7-0 West Perry. That's when I was wondering what was going on. So then after going back to look at it, because when I got to the game, it was halftime. But in the first quarter, West Perry had the ball twice, and they went on a like an 8-minute drive to score to close out the quarter, pretty much. So in the whole first quarter, Susquehanna only ran 5 plays.
Wow.
So that pretty much kind of was the tell of the game. West Perry they were running the ball. And then Susquehanna, they put together a drive in the second quarter that tied it up 7-7. and then West Prairie ended up going in the halftime up 10-7. And then coming out of the half, West Prairie got the ball to try to go up bigger, but they went 3 and out. Susquehanna gets the ball, scores right away, 14-10. And on the next drive, West Prairie was about to be 3 and out again, but then they decided on 4th down to do a fake punt, and that changed the whole game. They did a fake punt, it went 70 yards, and they went up 17-14. After that, Susquehanna couldn't score, and then West Perry put up 2 more touchdowns to finish the game out 31-14. They were physical and they didn't give up the big play.
Now I'm going to ask a very obvious question, but did it look like West Perry just came in with a pretty darn good game plan and executed it?
Yeah, I mean, their running back, I think his last name's Hockenberry. He can play. His stats, he has numbers all season. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but he's been lighting it up. And Susquehanna had a hard time tackling him. But yeah, defensively, they kind of kept everything in front of them. They didn't really give up too many deep plays that affected the game at all. And then the main thing they did was they snapped the ball with under 5 seconds left on the play clock. Every snap. Every single snap was snapped with the play clock under 5 seconds. So they made the game short.
Yeah, they took the air out of the ball. They took the air out of the ball, and that's and you have to execute. You have to pick up first downs and do that. But if you can pick up those first downs and grind people down, you can take the air out of the ball and shorten the game.
We have a lot of teams like that down here in Delco that slow the game down when they. Well, the big one was when Chester played Strathaven last year. Strathaven in the District 1 5A championship, 11-minute drive. Chester committed 17 penalties, jumped all sides all the time. But this year will be a different story. They learned their lesson. But remember, this game is also beautiful field, but at West Perry with their officials.
Oh boy. Do they have their own officials up there?
It's nice to have home cooking.
Well, it is.
Well, I mean,
did you see anything little favor?
Well, I will say on one of the drives late in the game, Susquehanna had 3 penalties thrown on them back after back after back late in the game. But they were down 10 points at that point trying to fight back. So I mean, I don't think that cost them the game at all. But it's definitely got to go against home cooking when you're going up down there, over there, wherever it is.
I think they have the same. I think they have the same officials we use down here.
Yeah, the District 3 is they assign they have assigners. So I don't think they have their own officials. But I will say this, Joe. You mentioned something about building a culture, and that's obvious because that young man they had at quarterback and there was a running back and receiver last year. They were tough. They were tough, and to lose that type of talent in a team like West Perry, and to obviously be able to reload, they're building something there. I mean, I think that's impressive. And I've been not critical, but just thought that Susquehanna should be playing in a different division. But I guess I have to put some respect on that division because obviously there's some teams there who can compete. I was shocked by the outcome. But again, if you can execute your game plan and if you take the air out the ball, shorten the game, obviously they came out victorious.
Well, 11-2 last year, 11-2 the year before for West Perry. So Coach Bowden, who you have interviewed, Joey, great interview.
Oh man, that guy. Yeah, I got his name wrong last week. I think I said Boger. If I did say that, I apologize. Bob Bowden, what a great coach and a great guy too. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember Joe? I was there that day when you interviewed him and
correct. Yeah, wasn't he a nice guy? He was a really nice guy. He was fun to have on the show, and I went away thinking, man, that dude knows what he's doing. He's a good coach.
You guys are too young to remember. West Perry had some unbelievable teams. 2 years, 99 and 2000. Musa Smith.
I know Musa. I know his family.
There you go. I remember those days. That was good stuff. But
Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man. And didn't he get it? Didn't he play a little bit in the NFL, like
Baltimore,
the Ravens?
Yeah, got hurt.
But Travis, you're older than I think.
I'm old.
So
you're not 66 though.
Yeah, they think Dave got us all.
Guy got 2 years.
So anyway, let's it's time for Coach Heaton and his team to just kind of, you got to have a good week of practice. Okay, here comes Eric Thomas. Let's see if we can get him in here. Eric Thomas.
Joe Gilloway, can you hear me?
There you are. We can all hear you.
I don't see him though.
We are no. He's driving. Eric, we're discussing. Welcome to the show. We are discussing the. We think it's an upset win. I'm sure West Perry doesn't though. West Perry 31, Susquehanna Township 14 Friday night. So yeah, Ben, you take us to the Monday first practice after a loss like that. What's Joe Heaton and his guys that got to do? I mean, obviously you got to have a good week of practice. That's a given, but you just you got to move on quickly, right?
First off, you got to watch. I'm sure they're gonna go watch the film with the kids so everybody can see their mistakes. Right. You could tell a kid you need to do this, but until they actually see it, that's where you're gonna get the results, and the kids is gonna understand and should become more coachable because they should be humble. After you do that, you learn from it, and then put it in the past and get ready for this week. And you got Stilton coming up on Thursday. So
that's a Thursday game. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like so West Prairie was able to run the ball, and I could tell you, playing defense, that when someone's running the ball at you and you can't stop them, that's demoralizing. I'd rather someone get passing touchdowns as a defensive player because it takes your manhood from you when somebody's running the ball, but especially running between the tackles and you can't stop them.
Correct. Great.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't even just that. I mean, Susquehanna, they only scored 14 points. You should be scoring more than that if you want to put a team like that away.
Right.
If you're not scoring, they're eating up the clock. They don't mind not scoring because they just chewing the clock. You got to score.
Well, you made a great point, Ben. You said that they weren't snapping the ball late in the game till under 5 seconds.
No, not late in the game. The entire game.
Oh, the entire game. Okay, that's
game. They didn't take one snap with the play clock above 5 seconds. The entire game.
And that was obviously by design. That takes discipline for a high school offense to do that. It really does.
It takes a whole lot of discipline.
I'm sure they practiced it.
Because usually nowadays, you lining up on the line of scrimmage, you're letting the defense set what they want, then you calling your play. That's what most coordinators are doing nowadays. So they're calling the play in the huddle. We're running this. We don't care what they line up in. We're on running under 5 seconds. We're gonna snap it.
Ben, like in basketball, that would be considered like when teams that aren't as athletic as the other team will play like a matchup amoeba type zone defense in basketball. And it just slows the game down. If you can shoot and get them or press them and break their or press them and they don't break your press, that's a problem. But you know what I mean? Basketball similar.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, for sure. Like you said, unless you're shooting a lights out, or if you turning them over and getting layup after layup, they got to come out then.
So, Eric, what happened since you moved out western PA is West Perry put themselves back on the map, man. They're a pretty darn good football program. Did you know that?
A little bit. I mean, it's, I'll be 100% honest. I've only really paid attention to like the higher classifications back in District 3, but, a little surprised. I've talked to a few people from Susquehanna leading up to the season. So a little surprising that maybe they got handled like that, but it's high school football, man. Anything can happen on any given week. We'll talk about that when we start talking about the Pittsburgh stuff.
You bet. Okay, so we're just going to touch on a couple more mid-pen scenarios here. One more game, and then I want to talk about an individual player. And then we brought Eric in. He's his roots are in Central PA. Went to Central Dauphin. Has covered high school football, high school basketball, college basketball for many years, but he's got his claws and he's snugly out there in the District 7 area. So we're going to kind of use him as our District 7, District 10 guy. But let's just touch on this. East High 21, Carlisle 12. I mean, I know a win's a win, and I know East High is happy to be 4-0. Anybody find that a little odd? After Central Dauphin beat Carlisle 48-0 the week before. I was told Carlisle. I say this with. I'm going to try to muster up as much respect as I can. I was told Carlisle is very close to like a JV team. Like,
if they had a guy like Mickens, that would help.
Well, no, and Ben, that's why I said I'm not trying to. You take a Central Dauphin team that's very young, very inexperienced. Just got shellacked by Central York and lost to Cedar Cliff, and then they beat Carlisle 48-0. Okay, so that's the only reason I kind of drew that conclusion is from the resumes here. How does East only win that game by 9 points?
Well, I just don't think we know how good some teams are yet because, right now East is in the soft part of the schedule.
That's correct.
You think that given past history, you think that York High would have given them a better game, but York High just picked up their first win this weekend.
Yeah.
And then they played Cedar Cliff, a really close game, a 1-point win. And you saw what happened to Cedar Cliff when they went to McDevitt on Friday night. It wasn't pretty. And then they also beat Chambersburg, who I saw this weekend, and Harrisburg really went through the motions, and Mercy rolled them. It was just they really went through the motions. It wasn't an impressive win on Harrisburg's part, but they were just out there almost playing. If they would have played like that against a McDevitt, Harrisburg would have lost. But because it was Chambersburg, they could kind of do what they wanted to do and kind of play around. I was going to say play with their food because that's exactly what they did.
Right.
But I think we're going to learn about East a little later in the season. But you can have close games and still be.
Absolutely. That's why I led with that, Travis. I'm not. A win is not a loss. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that we could turn a 21-12 win into a loss. So, and I just had 4 of the East High guys on my podcast earlier in the week. Great kids, great young men. If they're listening, I'm not saying anything negative because they're 4-0 for the first time in 13 years. And, like you just said, Travis, we're not even going to call it a hiccup. We're going to, like with Harrisburg, they just had to go through such a grind and so many emotions for 3 straight weeks. It's hard to keep that up week in and week out. For them, it might be 15 or 16 games,
And I'll say this, these are 15, 16, 17-year-old kids.
Correct.
They read Penn Live. They know that, okay, what we've done to people this year. You see what Carlisle hasn't been too good this year. And, it does get into a kid's mind. It got into our minds when we played. Who the teams, who are, you have to really be up for. And the teams, okay, they're struggling. Maybe, it's in the back of your mind and you're not quite as sharp.
Right. Okay. So anyway, 4-0. Great job, Coach Lance Dean and his guys. And, we're happy to see East back on, they're in the top part of the Commonwealth Division. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. So, and then the last thing I wanted to mention is a young man we discussed either last week or the week, I think a couple weeks ago, Trinity's Christian Joy, another big game, 200 rushing yards, 42 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns in a 48-0 win over Susquehanna. And this team has not missed a beat. They lost Messiah Mickens. They lost Santana Young to East. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't be better with those guys because those guys are big-time players. But they don't look like it bothers them to be playing without them. Has anybody seen Trinity play? I did a couple weeks ago. They're tough, man. They look really well coached. And let's remember, they have an interim head coach. They have a head coach that the school or the athletic department would not even hire as the head coach. They gave him an interim tag or label.
Well, I haven't seen Trinity play, like watch the game, but I've seen clips and they look big, like they look like a physical team. I know their strength and conditioning coach Justin.
They're
he
tough.
does a good job. So they look the part, and they got guys that can run on the outside. So
right,
makes sense.
Well, this Christian Joy,
the head coach is Kevin Yarnovich.
Yeah, we had him on our show. The show I do with PA Football News. Right before the season, I think the Sunday before the season started. And he's a coach. I mean, they didn't just find him off the street. He's been coaching football for a long time. He was the offensive line coach at Trinity. Then he was the offensive coordinator. But anyway, he's a football coach, and he's just has been waiting for his turn or, his opportunity. So,
so Kevin has been coaching for a long time.
Yeah.
So just a quick story. Kevin and I, we started teaching at Steel High the same year, which was 1998. We came in together in 98, and he started coaching at Steel High that year. So that's where he got his coaching start at Steel High.
So he's been around some good coaches, I would imagine.
Yes, he has. Yeah,
so
good guy.
I'm happy for him. I don't know if again, they probably knew what to expect. You know, a lot of times when you are the team itself, the coaches, the players, you know you're going to be good. You have a lot of confidence. But from the outside here looking in, I had a big question mark surrounding Trinity. And you know, so far after 4 weeks, they've really kind of put those questions to rest. So anyway, let's bring Eric in. He's going to talk about the WPIAL. For those at home, that's District 7.
WPIAL.
That's correct. And Eric, first of all, what's the team that you're doing the play-by-play for? Eric is a phenomenal, as good as it gets, play-by-play and analysis guy. He really is. I worked beside him for just 3 games over the course of like 2 years, I think. And, you know, as prepared as it gets, as educated, great voice. Who's fortunate to have you as their play-by-play guy this year, Eric? Eric.
Well, first of all, Joe, the check's in the mail. So
I was going to say, I just gave you this great build-up. Where are you?
Network up in Lawrence County that does a handful of teams.
Okay, so you get a chance to watch more than just that one team week in and week out. And just so I don't forget, you also, for NFHS, you also do play-by-play for all 6 state championship games, correct?
Correct, yep.
You can leave we don't mind if you have that road noise, Eric. Seriously, just leave your mic on. So tell us a little bit about, this is our 4th week we've been doing this. And the one void we have kind of in the show is we really don't have a District 7 expert or somebody that has a good understanding. You know, we're more Eastern PA guys. What do you like out there so far after 4 games?
Well, you know, I honestly think that we don't know a lot about most of these teams out here because in some cases, teams did not start week 0. They opted to take a second scrimmage. A lot of teams out here opted to not really care too much about their non-conference games. I mean, a couple of them pulled starters at halftime, even if it was a close game. You know, now the conference play is starting to take fold. There's still a couple classifications in which they have a non-con game this week, but you know, with 6A, there's only 8 teams in the whole mix, so they don't do a full. It's not basically like a full league thing. You can still play 3 non-cons, but you know, you look at 6A, for instance, and we still don't know if Central Catholic's going to be the team that everybody said they were going to be. We have a feeling that maybe North Allegheny is a slight favorite as far as, you know, if you got to lean one way or another right now. There is no other team at the 6A level that appears to be ready to challenge those teams. But we still haven't seen the best out of Central Catholic yet. I mean, they flirted with an 0-3 start, won their 4th game, or won their 3rd game, and then they won last weekend as well. But, you know, 5A's been pretty good. Pine Richland has shown that they might be back in the mix again. Peters Township, I think, remains strong. So it's really, I mean, the only class that the general consensus of us that cover the WPIL feel like we have a firm grip on, and I know this is going to come as a shock to everybody, but the only class we think we really have a grip on is 4A because we all know who the king there is, and the king's going to stay the king for another year because nobody's touching him in 4A at the state level or at the WPIL level, and that's Aliquippa.
We agree out this way. I think every time we have a discussion about 4A or about Aliquippa, and I know that I communicate with Billy Splain from PA Football News, and he's like another whole entity that covers football. And nobody that I talk to can find another team that they would put in the same kind of echelon as Aliquippa.
No. And I'll be listen, I say this half joking. It would take literally an entire roster of injuries or a global pandemic again to make sure that team does not go to the state final. I'm being dead serious. Like there is nobody. Some people thought maybe McKeesport might challenge them. You know, Greater Latrobe pushed them to the brink last year in the WPIL playoffs. That was, and I think and this is no offense to Dallas because those guys did a great job beating McDevitt. But if McDevitt got to them in the state final last year, that would have by far been their toughest game. And they avoided that because Dallas pulled the upset of upsets. And, you know, they won't see McDevitt again anyway because McDevitt's up a class, so they don't have to worry about that. I honestly do not know who was challenging that team. And I said it when we talked in the preseason. If you remember, I said it with Coach Blanding. You guys said, who's their toughest challenge? I said their second team. That's still it. That's still their toughest challenge.
Wait, Eric, let me ask you this. So do you think Aliquippa is the best team in the WPIAL no matter what classification?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I think maybe Central Catholic probably has, to a man, the most talent. And there's different pockets of teams that have certain things. Like North Allegheny special teams are off the chart. I mean, they got a kid kicking, 58-yard field goals in games and rumored to have booted a 75-yarder in practice. He's going to Alabama.
Wow.
So there's different pockets of teams that have better positions or better, units than maybe Aliquippa does. But collectively, talent-wise, I mean, Tyke Hayes is still there. They brought their top 2 running backs back. They brought enough wide receivers back. They maybe have a better quarterback than what they've had the last couple of years, and that's no knock on Cheese Good because he was incredible. The only hiccup with Aliquippa that they may run into somewhere down the line is the line, because they lost a bunch of big guys up front, but they just basically reload them. I mean, their offensive line is crushing people up front right now. I haven't seen them in person yet, and I won't probably until the playoffs, but they've been on TV in the Pittsburgh region. We're lucky enough to have 2 outlets that put games on Friday. I record everything and then watch it on Sunday morning. And I watched them off a TV broadcast, and I just thought to myself, my God, there is nobody who is challenging this team.
That's kind of scary.
So what about their out-of-conference schedule? Who do they play out-of-conference? Did any of them give them a run?
They already wiped it. Yeah, they already wiped it out. They didn't play week 0. They did another scrimmage and then started a week late, so they're technically a game behind. I think they did. I honestly can't remember if they played week 0 or not. I think they did start a week late again this year. And they wiped out their non-con, and they're on to their conference. I will tell you who their toughest in-conference foe right now, and this is if they beat Yak this coming Friday night, is going to be Newcastle. This Newcastle team is right now, they're 3-0, they're 4-0 right now. They have had a couple of narrow games. They've won some shootouts, but they have talent up and down the roster. They have a brand new head coach in Freddie Mazzocco, who came over from the Shannock. He is a Newcastle guy, so he understands the program. When he got the job there in the offseason, back in, I believe, February, somewhere around that time when he got hired, when he took the job at Neshannock 13 years ago everybody looked at him and said, you're insane. And all he did was build that team into a perennial 8, 9, 10, 11 game winner and left them with the cupboard completely full, because Neshannock's going to be they're a top 5 team in single A this year. But top 8 in the state if you go according to Eric Epler's rankings. But just in terms of WPIAL, they're certainly a top 4 or 5 contender for the WPIAL title. He goes to Newcastle, and the first day of workouts, he posted a video on his Twitter feed, and he had like 60 kids that were lifting on the first day that they were able to, and they did not have that type of commitment before him. I mean, Stacey Robinson was a good guy. He's a great guy. But he just did not have that type of commitment. And Freddie has completely revamped that entire program to the point that they're probably going to be 5-0 when they get a hold of Aliquippa. And I'm not saying that they're going to win that game, because you would be crazy to pick against Aliquippa. That's going to be a game where we find out a lot more about Newcastle and see if they're for real. I think they have potential to push Aliquippa, but push is about as far as I'll say anybody's going to go right now.
What about
good to see Newcastle back on the map? They're great year after year in boys basketball, and finally a lot of great athletes. The Hooker brothers they produced over the years, among others, individual athletes, but not as a team. So good stuff there, Eric.
I'm going to look ahead. This is going to probably be hard for you to answer, because the strange thing is they have WPIAL rankings. All 5 of the 5A teams that are ranked 1 through 5 are still undefeated. Did you know that, Eric?
Yep.
Peters Township,
Absolutely.
Pine Richland, Upper St. Clair, Bethel Park, South Fayette. Is Peters Township, at least at this juncture, the clear favorite? Do you think they're the best? No.
Bethel Park's been playing out of their mind right now, and they got a really good running game, and they have just been pulling people apart. Pine Richland, as I mentioned, I think has taken a few people by surprise, because the rumblings I heard last year about the Rams were that they were good and they were ready to kind of get back on that state championship level, but they might have been about a year away from that. And I think that they got it together, and they're starting to show, we're here for this year. You maybe give Peters a slight edge because they did it last year, and Nolan DeLucia is still there, and they have a lot of pieces from that state championship runner-up last year. And they don't have to worry about Imhotep, as we know, who's in 6A. So that's out of the way. A matchup with them and McDevitt would be incredible. I mean,
that would be a state semifinal
and that's
game
way
right
down the line. Yeah, that would be an incredible matchup to watch.
I wouldn't bet against that, though. I mean, even though it's way down the line, I definitely wouldn't bet against that. Now, the classification, Eric.
I don't think I would. Good. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. You finish up if you want.
I don't think you're wrong for betting against that either, Joe. I just wonder, if Pine Richland's in it for the long haul, and I think the team out of those 5 you have to keep a really good eye on is Bethel Park, because their offense right now is virtually unstoppable too.
We will keep an eye on them then. So that's just interesting, though, that the top 5 teams in 5A are all undefeated at this point. We're almost halfway through the season. And you mentioned to me weeks ago, we were talking or texting. You said that Class A is going to be fun out that way. We got Fort Cherry. Now about Westinghouse, are they going to be able to still make a run with losing their best player?
Yeah, they are. Kaishan Robinson was the one that you mentioned. That he busted his hip up before the season. And remember, they dropped down to single A. They thought they were going to move up to 3, and they actually ended up being able to go down to 1. They're a 1A school anyway. I mean, their enrollment is a 1A level. Much like Steel High, who should probably still be single A too. I don't know why that team is a 2A, but I don't make the rules, and if I did, they'd have common sense behind them. So the 1A in the 1A in the Whitfield. So there's a lot going on with this right now. Matt Sieg is hurt. He is still playing, but he broke his hand.
He's the Fort Cherry quarterback.
He's the Fort Cherry quarterback, correct. He is unable to actually play full-time quarterback. They're still running him, but he's wearing a cast, like a club on his hand or a cast. And they've played him defensively, but they really haven't missed a beat without him. At Clareton, and I saw them last year, and I thought they showed a lot of pieces last year to not necessarily get back to the Tyler Boyd style Clareton team that we saw 10 years ago, but they have enough talent there. They're a big offensive line. They've got experience at the skills. They're well coached. Will Wade's a great coach, one of the best people you'll ever meet, and they're really playing very well. Now remember, between Fort Cherry, Neshannock, and Clareton, and there's a couple other teams. Bishop Canavan is starting to become a little more well-rounded. They struggled early in the year, and they've now put back-to-back wins together. And Bishop Canavan, probably of any team in single A, has the best win of anybody because they just destroyed Steel Valley 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's a Steel Valley team that many people thought was going to be the 2A champ. They pulled them apart by 34. I mean, they ripped them in half, and Steel Valley never had a shot. I don't know what's going on with that Steel Valley team. There's injuries there, but I don't know if they're going to be 100% the whole season or not. So Canavan's back. You have those 4 teams. Throw a dart and figure out which one's going to be there. I still probably would say Fort Cherry, especially if Sieg stays healthy, gets his hand right and everything. And I would probably say after that, Clareton, maybe going to Shannock, and then you kind of fill in the pieces. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. But then after you get out of that, you've got Wilmington in District 10 who's playing really well. They can run the ball. They run a wing tee. They're a very tough team. They run the ball and play defense. It's typical power football at the small classification level. But then you got Westinghouse who's sitting there looming too. And I mean, Westinghouse lost their first game. They outscored the next 3 opponents 118-0. So they have not missed a beat whatsoever. They won't be challenged in that City League. That City League is not very good, and they will not be challenged in that. Their challenge is going to come when they hit the state playoffs after they win the City League.
Yeah, to be clear, Westinghouse is a District 8 team, which is Pittsburgh
Correct.
City.
Pittsburgh City. It's not WPIL, yes.
Right.
You read about Pittsburgh Perry. Yeah, they used to be a powerhouse. Year after year, they lost 68-0 to Westinghouse.
They are the only District 8 team ever to win a PIAA state championship, Perry. All right, anything else for us, Eric? I mean, you're
wait. What was Shinley? Was Shinley District 8?
Yeah. They're the Hill District.
Yep.
I don't think Shenley ever won a state championship in football.
No,
I was just asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were definitely District 8. Yeah, they were a Steel High / Reading / Chester of basketball back in like the 60s through the 70s or 80s, though. They were a phenomenal basketball program for sure. Anybody have any questions for Eric? Eric, you could hang around with us. If you got anything else you want to add, go right ahead. We appreciate it, man. You just filled in so many blanks for us that we just can't do that on our own. When it comes to that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we'll find out a little bit more about these teams the next 2 or 3 weeks because they're still just. It's funny that last year you could really pinpoint some things with teams. This year it's like, boy, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we saw on Friday night a Rochester team that some people still think is going to be a player in 1A, and I thought to myself, man, no, they're not. But they're tough. Anything can happen any week. It just we need to start seeing some of these teams, and maybe in the case of like a 5A, we won't just yet, but we need to start seeing some of these teams sort of separate themselves from the pack. And Central Valley is another case. We thought Central Valley was going to be a really good team this year. They've had some problems the last couple of weeks too, but there's got to start being some separation here a little bit as we get into the midpoint of the season.
All right. Thank you, Eric Thomas. We really appreciate it. You may want to stick around for this next conversation, at least, Eric. We're going to bring Dave in, Dave Burman, voice of Delco. He's kind of our District 1, District 12 guy. And let's lead with this, Dave. Archbishop Wood is now looking for their 4th head football coach in 5 years.
Eric actually gave me more of the scoop on that the other day. Eric sent me a message, said, I can't read that, whatever. Anyway, what's going on with Archbishop Wood. They lost Coach Devlin a few years ago. He got the job at Ursinus, doing a great job there at Ursinus College. And they're losing kids. Apparently, they're just not recruiting as well as the other schools, St. Joe's Prep, LaSalle, Roman, etc. Eric, real quick, I know that you were stunned about that.
I really was, because Dave Armstrong has become a friend of mine the last couple of years, and he really, his story is a really interesting one because he had no desire to coach until he got a call. The coach that was there after Devlin, I don't remember his name, but he had been there for a couple of years and took them to a state championship. Maybe it was Devlin.
He actually won state. His name was Kyle Atkins.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
and he actually brought Dave Armstrong more or less out of retirement. He was like, "Listen, I need you to come coach this team." And this was around 2018, and Dave had no desire to really coach. I mean, he was all about being a dad and being a family man and everything. And some things have gone on his end that just are a little bit out of his control that he needs to, that he's been wanting to like tend to and things. But it surprised me a lot because he was really energized and enjoying that job. And to see that program, I mean, think about where that program was in 2012 when they played 2011 when they played McDevitt. They were one of the best teams anybody's ever seen play for a state championship in 2011. And now they're
52-0.
Yeah, and that was a pretty loaded McDevitt team too. And I mean, they had 8, 9 Division I talent guys on that roster in 11, and now it's by no fault of Dave's own, but they're an afterthought now. It's a girls' basketball school right now. It's a boys' basketball school right now. Football's almost an afterthought there, and that's kind of shocking.
Yeah, here's the 2008 through 2019. They were 141-27. That's 27 losses in 12 seasons, 8 state title games, 6 state championships, and then go forward 1 year, 2020 to present, 10-27, 4 coaches in 5 years now once they replaced Dave Armstrong. So, it's just kind of a tale of 2 entirely different scenarios as far as and Dave, I think you mentioned it. Let's call it what it is. They're going up against a lot of programs who have built themselves up. With the Roman Catholic was nothing a handful of years ago. LaSalle College was good, but it's hard to go up against all those schools and have the best players like you used to. It really is.
What a great job. So you want to run down like 6A now, or let me know.
And let's just start real quickly with this Matt Zoller's injury. What a shame that sounds like. That is that Springford quarterback. He's the number 1 ranked player in Pennsylvania, a Missouri commit, and he suffered what's being described as a gruesome lower leg injury. What happened there? Probably just a compound fracture, I would imagine.
I just heard it was a broken foot. That's
okay? So maybe
that's what I heard. That's bad enough.
Yeah, it's bad no matter what.
From the description I heard, his leg bent the wrong way.
Yeah. That's
I'm
But
unfortunately.
it's 2024. The
expectations.
surgery they have now, he should come back 100% in about a year.
I
It
hope
wasn't
High
too.
expectations for Springford, so that we'll see how the backup does. But it's going to be a grind the rest of the way. A lot of really good District 1, 6A, and 5A teams that, if there wasn't a St. Joe's Prep or LaSalle or Roman Catholic, could be PIAA state champs. Not saying it's
Dave,
not.
what's the deal with LaSalle? Why are they all of a sudden so good, and are they a serious challenger to St. Joe?
That's pretty scary. Brett Gordon, first year head coach.
First year.
Yeah, first year. His dad coached there for a long time. Brett was assistant, and he went to Villanova and led them to great things. 2008, 9. So Brett's first year, and you saw what they did to Harrisburg. Challenging schedule. They beat Haverford School, who was the private school down here, non-PIAA, beat them 34-6. It was 14-6 after 3, but beat them up 34-6. Great quarterback. And they're young, and we'll just see what happens when they match up with Roman and they match up with Joe's Prep. And no, they're not going to play Imhotep, but those two games are going to be incrable. So
But they
yeah,
couldn't they play in the state playoffs or before that? Because aren't they both 6A?
It'll be districts.
LaSalle?
It'd be
They're LaSalle, St. Joe's. Only one of them's coming out of there.
Right.
Yeah, only one. So Imhotep. Here's what's going to happen. I even put it on my thread after Imhotep lost last night to East St. Louis, Illinois. We'll talk more about that. It's going to be Imhotep winning the City League. No, check that. The Public League Championship, which is basically a first round, would be like a first round state playoff game. Then the next game will be Imhotep versus the winner of LaSalle or Newman, LaSalle or St. Joe's Prep in the Sweet 16. And then it's probably going to, I don't know, it could be anybody. They're all three good teams. Then the winner of that goes to the PIAA state quarterfinals.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of quality
That's
teams there. Yeah. So what else was interesting down your way as far as matchups are concerned?
East St. Louis, Illinois, 10 state champs. Darren Sunkett, I finally did research on him. He's the head coach. He's been there 24 years at East St. Louis, Illinois. It's right across the river. It would be like what Camden is to Philly. It's right across the river from St. Louis. So it's called East
Chicago. Chicago.
Yeah, no, it's St. Louis, Missouri. Right across the river is East.
But they're from Illinois, I thought. Aren't they from
They're
Illinois?
from Illinois. Yeah. So it's right across the river, like Philly, and right across the river is Camden. You get it, right?
No, but that's okay.
So basically, what I'm getting is
they're on the state line. They're on the state line.
Yeah, they're in Illinois.
Of Illinois and Missouri.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I didn't know those two. I didn't know those two states.
Darren Plunkett is from Camden, New Jersey, so it's a homecoming for him. He's 221 wins, 63 losses in 24 years. Went to Cheney, a lot of friends down here, and he came down, and it was only a one-score game. Imhotep was down by a touchdown going into the fourth quarter, and then East St. Louis put it away 35-14. So they're favored to win the 6A. It's amazing. They're a town that's similar to Chester. They were 80,000 years ago. Now they're down to 20,000. Nothing really there, but they have a beautiful stadium, unbelievable football team. They apparently don't recruit. They're a public school, and he has 10 state titles. As Coach Sunkett, and they're going to win it again this year. Imhotep is going to be, as I said, they're going to win the Public League Championship. Then they're going to take on either Romans 5A, St. Joe's Prep, or LaSalle.
Okay.
Who do you favor there? Who do you favor, Dave?
Well, St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle will meet in the regular season too. So, who would I favor?
Who would you favor?
Those three. Toss up. It's a toss up.
Eric, we created the first week of the show, I think it was, we created the Kansas City Chiefs rule. Until somebody beats St. Joe's Prep, we got them to win.
They're the favorites no matter
what.
Honestly,
so.
what I saw, I watched the Chester Imhotep game, and I was really impressed with Chester. But I from what I saw, I don't see Imhotep competing with the St. Joe's Prep. I really don't.
Well, St. Joe's Prep, I posted Eric Epler's rankings, and a couple people came at me, thought that it was me. I have Eric's name on there. They said St. Joe's Prep would not be number one. They had a lot of LaSalle people were checking it. LaSalle should be number one.
I can see that,
but
we got to go.
So anyway, Central Buck South is good 4-0. As we said, that's a Philly team. Downingtown West looks good. They beat Springford 21-12. And and then Roman Catholic is going to go to the state. They're going to go to the state semis in 5A District 1, and hopefully they'll take on Chester. But Chester's got to get through teams like Garnet Valley, which is 5A, and Strathaven, and Springfield Delco. So
I think this is the year they do that. I do, Dave. I think this is the year Chester's able to finally pull that off.
Yeah, they took care of business yesterday, beat John Bartram 40-0, Philadelphia Public League. And Duran Harris, we had the Harris twins, Jalen the quarterback, Duran, they're both juniors. They had 5 touchdowns yesterday, ties a Chester High record. Chester High football started in 1890. So keep an eye on Duran and keep an eye on Chester as the year goes on. They're going to run, in my opinion, they're going to run the table, be 9-1, and then we'll see what happens in the District 1 5A tournament.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about Chester in the playoffs are their special teams.
They're doing very well. They have an extra point kicker now.
Okay, so that's what cost them the Imhotep game.
Exactly. Shadrach is really good. Shadrach George, you'll love me giving him a shout. He's only a junior, heck of a basketball player. He had 4 extra points yesterday. He looked good on the kicks yesterday.
They're gonna need that in the playoffs.
I know. Strathaven was the same thing last year.
Yeah, Harrisburg somehow gets away with that most of the time. You know what I mean? But you just never know when you're faced with a matchup that it may come down to that. You better have somebody that can at least make a kick from 19 yards, 20 yards.
Yeah,
like that.
There's just been times when Harrisburg has had that. But the last few years have been really inconsistent. They have guys that can kick it, but it's just not necessarily consistent. I remember them having a walk-off field goal against Redland years ago at Hershey Stadium.
Well, how about the one they just barely missed? Eric, you had to have been there against Central Dauphin. It was like 40 how many yards, and it was just wide left. It was their running back. Who was that, Eric?
I don't remember who it was, but I remember the game.
Oh, I mean, it was just wide left, and it was long.
Might have been that Joel Davis.
No, I would not. Are you sure?
No, that's who it was.
Are you sure? Okay, I stand corrected. Thank you. Good job,
Mr.
Dave.
Versatility, Joel Davis.
But he was a skill position player, though, right?
Yeah,
he was a running back, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That Travis, that's a very valid point, though. That you want to part of being prepared for the postseason, I think, is having a kicker.
Yeah, and even on kickoffs, like a lot of times if you can't get somebody that can kick that ball deep, you're giving up field position. That's one of the things that worries me about Harrisburg. With they're kicking probably to about the 10, and they haven't been covering well, and everyone's getting the ball, no matter who it is at 40-yard line. That's where they're starting drives.
Yeah, they don't get initial contact on you till you're out to the 25-yard line, and if you can break one tackle, like you just said, then you're out to the 30 to 40.
In 4A, look for a state final. Bonner, Prendy's good this year. John Capoletti's alma mater. So 4A, look for Bonner against Aliquippa in the state finals. There's another.
Oh boy.
Ooh, Bonner. That's a Catholic League school, correct?
Yeah, Philadelphia Catholic League. Yep. They got it going on this year. And a shout out. Terry Clark's not on, but anyway, in AA, I announced one of their games this year down here in Wilmington. Troy High School looks really good, guys. So
Troy out of District 4.
Yep, they're 4-0. Beat Athens 55-0. It was a 4A school,
and Athens is a good team too.
Yeah, traditionally, pretty good.
Yeah.
There was a video. I think I posted it on the forum, and the coaches after the game, the Athens coach was not happy at all. So we got punched in the mouth and we didn't respond. It was 55-0 Troy. So keep an eye on them. Still 6 more weeks to go. It's unbelievable, guys.
You know who else got punched in the mouth? Go ahead, Eric.
They'll get Southern Columbia too in a district playoffs or district finals somewhere. They would have to go through that.
I think Mount Carmel. Yeah, Mount Carmel. Well, Mount Carmel beat Southern Columbia.
That's what I was just going to jump into here.
Well, all right, there we go.
So Mount Carmel's that's an old school. I'd like to see them make a run. And how's my Farrell Steelers doing out there? Speaking of Mercer County area,
they're good. Yeah, they're good again. I'm not sure what they're gonna do come state playoffs, but at the same time, I don't know what kind of resistance they're gonna meet. Westinghouse and them last year were on a collision course in 2A, and then with Westinghouse dropping down, Farrell seems like they're probably going to run away with that thing and maybe make a run to Cumberland Valley. I don't know yet, but 2A is another class in the WPIL. We don't know jack about anything in that class right now because, honestly, the team that has the best win in 2A is Elwood City. They beat Neshannock at Neshannock a week ago Friday night, and that's a Neshannock team that had only lost 9 times in 10 years before that loss to Elwood City at home. So
wow,
they have the best win and one of the best players, but are they a legit threat? I don't think so. So I don't know. I mean, 2A right now is just, especially with Steel Valley getting manhandled, it's a crapshoot out here, and Farrell might have the inside track on that.
How about, Dave, since we're talking District 1 a little bit here, and let's throw some District 3 back into it. Manheim Township 20, Plymouth Whitemarsh 18. Boy, that's incredible. A big boy. That's a big boy non-league game, man, for week 4. It's a great matchup there.
Plymouth Whitemarsh was down. They were 5A for like 5 years. They actually knocked out Chester in the District 1 quarterfinals in 2012.
They were 2-1 going in. Their loss was to a pretty good Wilson team, Wilson West Lawn, District 3 Wilson. And Manheim Township was down late, and they just find ways to get it done. Manheim Township, they schedule tough out of league, and they win a lot of those games. I'm pretty sure that Manheim Township and Harrisburg are probably the 2 best Travis Bend 6A teams in District 3, at least at this juncture. We haven't seen enough of Wilson probably. I think that Doug Doms and his guys would probably they want to have a say in that matter. But, Manheim Township's good again.
Well, the Cougars won 3 straight. So like we said with St. Joe's Prep, in the district at least, I got to go with Harrisburg until someone knocks them off in the district. Yeah,
I don't go with that all the time, Travis, but in this case, I will, and in the St. Joe's Prep case, I will. If there's not like a clear-cut favorite, that's a good way of doing it, a good way of approaching it, I think.
I'm your District 6 guy. We could talk District 6 football.
Are you the District 6 guy too?
Yeah, how about State College? Huh?
He only wants to talk District 6 if it's Mifflin County. We all know that.
Dave, you're not going to – you want to talk about Mifflin County?
I posted the article that Coach Breon's livid after that 35-7 loss to Hershey. Because I'm relating it to Hershey, who's a good team, right? That's a good team.
I told you at the beginning of the season that I said Lower Dauphin and Hershey were definite losses. But they've also lost to Mechanicsburg. I think.
So Hollidaysburg's taking care.
I heard Mechanicsburg is pretty good, though.
Yeah, they're looking good. They're looking good.
So, we just know it's going to, in District 6, Altoona. Hopefully they can get 2 or 3 wins going into that championship game against State College. And Mifflin County hopefully will end up 500. Big game against Hollidaysburg for the District 6 5A championship. It's going to be wild in those towns, man. It's not easy to get to a state district championship game.
Well, it's not hard either, though. I mean, Dave, you could be under 500, okay, and really not have a quality win and go to a district championship game.
You could be 0-10, right?
It's been proven before with other sports like out there. But
how about that basketball final? The one team was like 3-18, and the other one was like 4-17. Who was that?
Altoona. That was 2021.
Just bricks flying all over the gym, and
it went overtime. Though
it went overtime. Yeah.
And then Altoona won. This boys basketball 6A. Then they had to go play Erie in that sub-regional, and Erie beat them by 70 points.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost a bye for the team that's waiting. And that's a terrible thing to say, but you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
Erie Prep is usually the team that's waiting for the 5A District 6 team.
Yes.
And that's never a tough game.
Well, hopefully Hollidaysburg or Mifflin County, Hollidaysburg would be favored. But to beat Mifflin County in the championship game in a few weeks. But Cathedral Prep is 4-0, so we'll see how they come along. Eric, I heard they're a little down. You're close to, well, that's District 10. You're in District 10 territory, right?
A little bit outside of it, but yeah.
Okay, so Cathedral Prep, Erie Prep, and, but as we talked about, it's going to be, you got the out there in 5A football, District 7, Pine Richland, Peters Township teams that won state titles.
So how about some upcoming games? And Eric, we'll bring you back in here too. You might have some that you at the top of your head here, but we got the game that we know that we don't all really love the whole lot is Susquehanna Township at Steel High. That's on Thursday. Kind of a head scratcher. You got a legitimate 4A school against all but a 1A school. I don't know if it helps Susquehanna Township. Probably helps Steel High if they can walk away healthy, right, Travis?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, actually, Steel High has been surprising to me coming out the gate. I thought they were going to really struggle, and Coach Irby, he's just doing his thing.
He's the man. I think it's great for the community, guys. I mean, I love that kind of stuff.
I think Coach Irby, I had him on both of our shows. We did 2 shows preseason, and he wouldn't show his hand, but he was confident that they were going to win some games. He didn't think it was going to be an altogether just a 15 or 16-0 down to 2-8, and but he knew that he had a challenging he was going to have to approach things differently. So he does things. He'll get as much out of those guys as he can, as anyone would be able to. I think. Anybody have any?
He's definitely doing that. I mean, and he has them. Those kids are tough, and if you ever saw him play, he was a hard-nosed running back and linebacker, and that's the way his kids are.
All-state linebacker at Steel High, all-American linebacker at Delaware Valley.
Great football mind. He is a
Two
great
of the top
football
five,
mind.
two of the top 5A teams in the state from Delaware County go at it. Strathaven ranked 8th, 4-0, taking on Garnet Valley, 4-0. A possible also playoff preview. So they play each other on Friday night. So a lot we'll see how that turns out.
Well, we have a game here that normally is kind of circled on everybody's calendar, and this year it's not, but I'm just going to mention it. Cumberland Valley at Central Dauphin.
Yeah.
I think they're both 2-2. It's Cumberland Valley maybe 3-1. I don't know. But
they're 2-2. And I remember the days when there'd be 10,000 at the games, and I don't see it this year.
I watched Central Dauphin for the first time. They beat Altoona. Central Dauphin beat Altoona Friday night by 15, and Cumberland Valley beat them last week by 13. And it looked to me when I saw Altoona out there like it was going to be a much bigger. What I did find out about Central Dauphin, though, is they have 9 seniors on the entire roster. They have 40 juniors and 20 sophomores. So it's a young, inexperienced team. I'm going to say that for Coach Glenn McNamee and his Rams. I don't think they expected much more than this. Again, if you'd asked them, they probably did with themselves within their own locker room, but I don't think anybody else expected. They're probably a 3-7 team, Well,
Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the quarterback that transferred from Trinity to Harris, wasn't he originally at Central Dauphin?
Yes, he lasted until 8th grade. So yeah, he would have been a Central Dauphin kid.
That's a big loss right there. I mean, they I don't know much about the Rams. I kind of have fallen out of the loop with them, but I do know that because I remember a lot of people talking about him during my time there. But that's a big loss. I mean, you took a kid who probably would have been starting at Trinity. At least we thought was going to start at Harrisburg until that all changed, but. That's a big loss losing somebody like that in your program. I
just was hearing very recently, days ago or a week ago, that he may end up back in Green. The Harrisburg back Shank, his name is Shank, Michael Shank Jr. Because he clearly is not going to, outside of an injury, to Lewis. It is right.
Yeah, and Jayon Lewis is a junior, so
yeah, so
he's firmly entrenched.
Right,
he's a good quarterback.
I don't know. I don't even know if I should be talking about stuff like that on this show, but that's what I was told that kid may be back at Central Dauphin. They have a lot of young talent. I've kind of joked around and beat up on them a little bit over the weeks. You guys know, you've heard me. because I'm not here to like take anybody's back or to kind of paint a picture that I don't really believe in, but they do have a lot of young talent, and it's young talent. It's not just a bunch of goofballs out there running around. There was a lot of energy on that CD sideline, and very rarely is there a high school sports program that doesn't kind of have that one season here and there, and this is definitely that one season. Now, Cumberland Valley, on the other hand, I kind of expected more out of them. Was I wrong to expect more out of them? What did you guys think? What did you hear? What did you know?
Watching them last year, I didn't know, as far as how many juniors, seniors they had. I didn't think they were a very good team last year. I mean, they're solid, but they're a 500 team to me. And so I didn't, based on that and given, watching them play, there's a lack of athleticism.
They look like a 6-4 team that's going to finish outside of the playoffs. Now, 6A is up to 10 teams now. Do you guys know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is the first year. Eric, I don't know if you knew that either. Yeah, they send 10 teams, and the 1 and 2 seeds get a bye. So
they do it like that, so the 1 and 2 get a bye.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You want to make it even better, you need to have District 6 come and play through it like they did back in the day.
Absolutely. Oh, man, I agree so much. And I don't think State. You know Lintal, the coach. He wouldn't be opposed to that, would he? He would play out of District 3, wouldn't he?
Well, I mean, he plays all those schools anyway. So
yeah,
at least in the Mid-Penn. So what's any different? I mean, they've scheduled in the past other teams, out of District 3. So I see no issue with doing that. You need to do something to balance out the competitiveness of District 6 and. Just having like a State College and Altoona meet 2 times in 3 weeks or 2 times in 2 weeks, and that's proven nothing to benefit anybody that wins that game. So they need to do something about it. And if it's only one team that makes it, then it's only one team that makes it. But I think they should at least open the door and say 2 or can get in, but it's at least one, and just do it like they did back in the day and do a sub-region type playoff.
Well, and basketball should be the same way, right, Joe?
There's no doubt. Yeah. I think that we mentioned a little while ago. There's probably not many teams. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. I think there's only 3 real legitimate teams that have a chance to win out of District 3, and that's Harrisburg, Manheim Township, and maybe Wilson. You never know. After that, though, York High's down, Hempfield's down. Who else am I leaving out here?
We still got question marks involving CD East. I still do think they're a good team. I just don't know if they're a championship caliber team yet. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know yet. I agree, Ben. It's just they have to play someone. I think York just won their first game. They played Carlisle, Chambersburg. I'm just not there yet.
Dallas Town. I know they have a handful of like some D1 talent. I don't know if that's enough. They just beat Southwestern by 9, 30-21. Did Dallas Town. Dallas Town. I believe they have one tough game coming up. I'm not sure who it's against. Maybe Wilson, or they do have one tough game. So we'll get a better gauge on them here soon. But I think all roads lead through Harrisburg again in 6A. What else we got upcoming? We got another couple games. I got to throw this out here. We talk about the same teams quite a bit because they're always usually the best team. Lower Dolphin at Hershey. That could be a decent game. Lower Dolphin's playing some good football, and so is Hershey. I think Hershey's no surprise. They were supposed to be pretty good. Dave, was Lower Dolphin picked to win the Keystone by Penn Live? Do I have that right or no?
Boy, you would know that better than me. Because
but we had a conversation earlier in the year, and we were talking about who Mifflin County might be able to knock off, and I said I don't think Lower Dolphin.
Well, I keep hearing Mechanicsburg is going to be the best team.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
Yeah, they struggled. They struggled the last few years, and now they're just right back.
They have to be kind of jumping for joy.
They have a new coach this year.
Who's that? Mechanicsburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, former wrestling coach at Cumberland Valley, Heckard. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, is that who it is?
I remember that name from Cumberland Valley. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dave Heckard.
He and Swaggart almost went at it a few years ago over a late match dispute.
That's a heyday. That's a Cumberland Valley name for the Cumberland Valley heyday right there, Heckards.
And then the last one.
I never met him before, Heckard. Looking at his picture, he looks nuts.
And then here's a game that could be interesting. I don't think any of us will get to it. Juniata at Camp Hill.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's kind of. I only threw it out there because it's kind of got some intrigue.
My old neck of the woods, Juniata.
Yeah,
Juniata is still high as one loss, right? Only loss.
Yeah.
And I saw Camp Hill scrimmage Susquehanna Township, and they didn't seem like they have that much talent or anything. But I don't know if they, got better as the season went on.
Dave or Eric, how about you? Anything out there that kind of grabs you for next week?
The only thing we're really for, and it's down the line, is Central Catholic and North Allegheny. They're going to meet twice, probably because they're going to meet in the 6A WPIL final. The rest of the classes are so spread out because of division, so it's all conference play the rest of the way. Keep an eye on Aliquippa Newcastle. That's going to be in 2 weeks. As long as Newcastle gets by Yock on Friday night, that'll be a 5-0 against a 4-0. That'll be something to keep an eye on. And somebody needs to step up in 3A in the WPIL. Bell Vernon, they bumped up to a 4A this year. They've been a disappointment, but they were the 3A state champ the last two. So going to be a new champ in 3A. 2A is a crapshoot again. Beaver Falls is way down. They were the WPIL champs last year, and then they lost to Farrell in the state playoffs. Really just a lot. It's a lot more so down the line that we have to see yet. We need to see a couple teams step up, but the big one that everybody's going to pay attention to coming up is going to be Central Catholic and North Allegheny. It's going to be the first of two meetings, and they're going to meet 4 times in 2 years.
Thank you, Eric. That's Eric Thomas, who came in today to discuss. And Eric, of course, you're welcome every week if you'd like.
Hey, can I give you something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. He actually, for many years, wrestling coach at Cumberland Valley. He was a fullback and linebacker at Cumberland Valley. And then he went to Villanova, started 4 years at linebacker, playing alongside Eagle star Brian Westbrook. So there you go. That's a heck of a hire. Coaching means a lot.
Yeah, Eric just mentioned briefly there, Bell Vernon. I think maybe 2-time defending state champs in 3A. They lost to McKeesport, who came into the game 0-3. They lost 28-7 to McKeesport. So something's not working for Bell Vernon out there in their new classification. Probably lost a lot of talent. I mean, really, that's where it usually starts and ends, Anybody else have anything else to look forward to here? Any big games?
No, who does East have this weekend?
You want me to check for you?
They don't get into their tough part of the schedule until week 8.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They have Altoona.
Yeah.
Altoona, Cumberland Valley, Central Dauphin are the next 3 weeks, and then State College, McDevitt, Harrisburg.
I think that'll be a pretty good game, Cumberland Valley and East. That'll be a pretty good game.
And, depends what I was, at least from what I expected, I was impressed with Central Dauphin. I really was. They were disciplined. They weren't making dumb mistakes. The quarterback protected the ball. They're very limited. They can't really throw the ball down the field too much. I don't know if the quarterback has the arm. I don't know if they have any receivers that, and it's a lot of jet sweeps, of course. But, it is what it is there at CD. I think it could be an interesting game against East, though. I still think throw all the records out the window in those games for sure. That's about all I have, guys. I appreciate it. As always, the voice of Delco, Dave Burman. Dave, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Big shot, Ben Dupree. Thank you. And Travis Waters, the guy who started with me, it was just you and me, Travis, week 1, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yes, sir.
We built a group around us, man. And I really appreciate all you guys. And
build it, they will come.
Yes, exactly. This is fun. I think it's fun. And then let's thank Eric Thomas. That guy knows his stuff, and he knows what we don't know, and that's Western PA football. So let's just run down the sponsors once again: Rickabaz Electric, Payor Apparel, Ted's Bar and Grill, Hoffman Ford, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, the Tire Mart, American Legion Post 272, Modern Imprint, Team PA AAU Basketball, Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Sam Hartley Decking, Tonino's Pizza. Thanks to all those great local businesses. So for Travis Waters, Ben Dupree, Dave Burman, and Eric Thomas, I'm Joe Gilloway. Thanks for tuning in again, and we'll be back next Sunday, same time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yep.